That monster in your dream is not your enemy. It's you, the part of you you've been trying not to see. You wake up sweating, heart pounding, after being chased through shadows, hunted by a faceless figure, or cornered by something you can't even name. But what if that nightmare wasn't a warning, but a revelation? Carl Jung believed that everything we push away, our fears, desires, rage, shame, doesn't vanish. It hides, and in dreams, it returns. Not to destroy us, but to be seen. Jung called it the shadow, the dark twin of the self, made not of evil, but of all that has been rejected. It is the self in exile. And when it appears in dreams, distorted, terrifying, misunderstood, it's not to hurt you, it's to wake you up. The shadow is not a curse, it's a key to personal power, to honesty, to wholeness. And today we stop running from it. Today we turn toward the dark and listen. Carl Jung never described the shadow as evil. He didn't believe it was a demonic force or some external darkness trying to ruin us. The shadow, in Jung's view, is simply everything we hide from ourselves. It's made of the thoughts we silence, the emotions we suppress, and the instincts we deny. It includes anger, jealousy, envy, desire, fear, selfishness, pride, even strength and creativity that don't fit our self-image. As children, we learn what is acceptable and what isn't. So we begin to cut off parts of ourselves to be loved, to be safe, to belong. But those parts don't disappear. They go underground, into the unconscious, and that's where the shadow lives. The more we deny the shadow, the stronger it becomes. It doesn't fade with time, it waits, and when ignored, it finds ways to express itself. Through projection, emotional outbursts, self-sabotage, and especially through dreams. Jung warned that the repressed shadow does not remain silent. If we refuse to see it consciously, it will find us in the night, in strange forms, in symbols, in confrontations that feel deeply personal. But here's the crucial insight. The shadow is not our enemy. It becomes dangerous only when we refuse to acknowledge it. When we meet it with honesty, it transforms. Jung believed that integrating the shadow, facing it, understanding it, making peace with it, is the path to inner strength and authenticity. In fact, many of the qualities we admire in others, courage, assertiveness, sensuality, confidence, may be locked in our own shadow because they didn't seem allowed when we were younger. By reclaiming those pieces of ourselves, we don't become worse. We become whole. The shadow, Jung taught, is a reservoir of untapped energy. But it's energy with a condition. You can't access it until you're willing to face it. And that's why it comes to us in dreams, when the ego is asleep and the deeper self can finally speak. In dreams, the shadow rarely announces itself gently. It shows up as the pursuer in a dark alley, the stranger whose face you can't quite see, the creature hiding just out of reach. Sometimes it's a murderer, a monster, a wild animal, or even a distorted version of yourself. Familiar, but wrong. Jung noted that these figures often carry a threatening or aggressive energy, but they aren't there to destroy you. They're there to wake you up. The shadow takes on the form most likely to break through your defenses. It uses fear not as punishment, but as a signal. Something inside you needs your attention. Not every frightening figure in a dream is the shadow, but when a dream feels personal, charged, unforgettable, and strangely intimate, there's a good chance the shadow is speaking. Jung described many cases where individuals dreamed of being chased by a dark figure, only to discover that this figure carried qualities they rejected in themselves: anger, sexuality, ambition, or power. One man dreamed repeatedly of a violent thief following him. In analysis, it became clear that the thief represented his own suppressed rage, something he had buried so deeply it had turned into a stranger. Another woman dreamed of a snarling black dog, always appearing when she felt anxious. Over time, she realized the dog embodied her fear of speaking up, an instinct for self-defense that had long been silenced. Jung wrote that the shadow often appears with aggression because it's been exiled. It doesn't know how to knock politely, it kicks down the door. But the real task isn't to fight it or flee. The task is to stop running, to turn and face it, to ask, "Who are you? What do you want me to see?" In doing this, we shift from fear to curiosity. We invite the truth to come forward. The dream becomes a dialogue, not a battlefield. In this way, dreams are rehearsal spaces for integration. They allow us to meet parts of ourselves without filters, without shame. And the monsters we meet? They may be parts of our own strength, our own honesty, our own ability to say no, or to lead, or to love fully, hidden behind masks because they once made someone else uncomfortable. The shadow disguises itself not to deceive, but to survive. And when we finally look it in the eye, we often discover that the face behind the fear is ours. Carl Jung believed that no one becomes whole by chasing only the light. To be fully alive, you must also face your darkness. The shadow, with all its discomfort and threat, is not a curse, it's an invitation. Until we acknowledge it, we live in fragments. We build identities based on what we think is acceptable, repressing anything that doesn't fit. But the price of that repression is high. We lose energy. We live with guilt we can't name. We feel blocked, stuck, or inauthentic without knowing why. Jung said that the moment we stop denying the shadow, we experience a shift. It's not always dramatic, but it's powerful. A kind of internal click. You begin to feel more honest, more solid. You stop apologizing for your instincts. You begin to trust yourself again. Facing the shadow isn't about becoming darker or harder. It's about becoming real. When you allow yourself to feel anger instead of suppressing it, you learn how to set boundaries. When you acknowledge envy, you learn what you truly desire. When you admit fear, you find the courage to act anyway. Jung saw the shadow not as a threat, but as a reservoir of raw life force, energy that was trapped the moment we judged it unworthy. Reclaiming it brings vitality back to the soul, and that journey often begins in the dream world. In waking life, we filter, we explain, we justify. But in dreams, none of that matters. The shadow appears as it is, uncensored, urgent, and symbolic. That's why so many transformations begin with a dream. One man, overwhelmed with people-pleasing, dreamed of a giant shouting at him to stop. It terrified him. But when he explored the dream, he realized it was the part of him that had always wanted to say no, the part he silenced for years. Another woman kept dreaming of a thief stealing her things. In time, she realized it was a part of her that had never been allowed to take up space, to claim her own life. When she made peace with that part, she found her voice. The shadow is not just a symbol of what we fear, it's a key to what we need. It asks for respect, not war. And when we listen to it, really listen, something incredible happens. We stop living in half-light, we stop fighting ourselves, and slowly we become whole. The work doesn't start in a therapist's office. It often starts when we close our eyes and meet, face to face, the part of us we've tried to forget. Jung didn't offer a rigid formula for working with the shadow, because the journey is personal, unpredictable, and deeply human. But he gave us the tools to begin. One of the simplest and most powerful ways to start is by paying attention to your dreams. Keep a notebook by your bed and write everything you remember the moment you wake up, no matter how fragmented, strange, or disturbing. Dreams are the language of the unconscious, and patterns emerge when you show up consistently. Over time, you'll start to notice certain figures, feelings, or themes repeating. A pursuer, a locked door, a strange double of yourself. These are not accidents, they are invitations. Before sleep, try to set a quiet intention, not to control the dream, but to open to it. You might simply ask, what part of myself do I need to see tonight? Or what am I not facing? These questions, even when asked silently, signal to the unconscious that you're ready to listen. And that's when the shadow often begins to soften. You may still meet it in the form of tension or fear, but the energy shifts from threat to message. The key is not to analyze too quickly. Don't rush to interpret with logic. Instead, ask the dream, who are you? What are you trying to show me? What am I unwilling to feel? Working with the shadow through dreams is not about eliminating fear. It's about building a relationship with the parts of you that have been waiting in the dark. When you stop seeing these parts as enemies, you can start integrating them into your conscious self. That's when you gain access to their strength, their clarity, their purpose. The angry dream figure becomes your assertiveness. The thief becomes your right to claim space. The monster becomes your unclaimed power. You don't destroy the shadow, you make space for it, you let it speak, and then you invite it to join you, not control you. Jung believed that only through integration can a person become whole. Wholeness doesn't mean perfection. It means living with honesty and courage, aware of both your light and your darkness. Dreams are where that process often begins, because they reveal what waking life hides. And so the next time you find yourself face to face with something terrifying in a dream, pause before you run. Ask, what truth have I been avoiding? You may discover that the very thing you feared was never meant to hurt you. It was meant to guide you home. Dear friends, if you liked this video, please like it and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you soon.